if you really want to join Google, or if you really want to be a software engineer in general, I feel like to really know like what software engineering is and be prepared for what's going to happen.
Thank you, Xiao, for your time today. Really appreciate it. Would you please tell
Uh,
me a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Yung. It's a great opportunity. I'd like to share some of my experiences with your audiences. Hope I could be at least a little bit helpful. So my name is Xiao. I am a software engineer at Google now. I have been at Google for about 3 years now. It was my very first job after graduating from college. Before that, I was also a Google intern. So I interned at Google the summer before I joined Google as a full-time employee. The experiences has been more than great, so I chose to stay at the company for a bit longer. Uh, Before my like full-time employment, it was of course years of academy training in college, 4 years of computer science, and out of school and now Google engineer.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting.
Mhm.
So you told me that you work as a software developer and engineer at Google.
Mhm.
What was your reaction like when you first got your job offer letter or
Oh,
the email or phone call from the recruiter?
yeah. It was, I mean, yeah, so Google's internship works a little bit differently. So, like not only you have to pass the technical interview, like answer all the coding questions and stuff, there was also a team match process. So my team match process took really, really long. So it's like, the intern host, like mentors, somebody hosting the project in the company, they will go through a pool of candidates and finding the best fit for the project.
Oh,
It took me quite a while to land a decent project. But
okay.
like when the recruiter finally called saying, "Hey, we got a decision here," I was like, it's finally over. Finally, something settled. I got something to do for the summer. And also, the recruiter sent me the number. I mean, it was a lot of money. I
Okay.
mean, it was one of my very first professional job.
Okay.
And also they have good benefit and all stuff. So it was really, really exciting. But other than all of that, I feel it was like the best opportunity I could ever have. I got a chance to work at one of the companies I really admire. So I was really looking forward to the learning, and I was really looking forward to make good contributions.
So you said that there's like the technical interview and then there was a fit match or something. And
Mm-hmm.
this is for the internship or is it for the like transition to the full-time offer?
Yeah, actually, the matching happens in both stages.
Oh,
So for
okay.
internship, so the internship is more like, hey, you need to pass the a technical interview first to be qualified as a candidate for the projects. So yeah, first of all is to go through the interview process, then
Uh-huh.
go to team match. And after we have landed a project saying, hey, we got some work for you to do this summer, then Google is gonna, finishing off the offer and all the other stuff. But
Oh, okay.
full-time employment is pretty much the same process, but they kind of swap the part between offer and matching. So it's more like you go through normally 4 to 5 rounds of interviews,
Uh-huh.
then the hiring committee going to make a decision saying, hey, this is a decent engineer. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to hire them. Then the HR are going to work out an offer for the candidate. And then the candidate will, go ahead and find the suitable team to join as a full-time engineer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, that makes sense. As we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about like interviewing and applying and like getting the offer from the company, would you be willing to share a little bit about your experience with like the process of getting into the company?
Uh-huh.
Maybe on the focus a little bit on the interview side.
Yeah, sure. So for software engineers, I mean, the interview is quite straightforward. Normally, Google conducts about 4 to 5 rounds of interviews, but in most cases, I've only seen four. So for the 4 rounds of interviews, it's going to be about an hour long.
Uh,
Uh, there will be about 3 rounds of technical interviews and 1 round of behavior questions. We don't really call it behavior question. We call it Googliness
yeah.
questions. It's one way to make sure we have a not only a cultural fit but also like a cultural extension to our corporate community. So like for that round, we pretty much ask you, hey, what have you done in your professional or academic career? How do you handle different situations? And what do you look forward to if you are going to become one of us Googlers? So very much like behavioral question. And then the technical interviews are going to be coding questions, mostly for people out of college, for new grads and people in their early careers. They're like, well, the setting is very much like lead code questions, but we don't really, want to test people, like saying, hey, here are the tough questions, tackle them, I'll give you an offer. No. So it's more like, we throw out something, with some complexity, then we kind of discuss the solution, and we want the candidate to code out a workable solution to prove, not only they have a decent, ability to understand the question and find an algorithmic solution, and also they have, the ability as an engineer to make actual implementation for it. Then we like to ask follow-up questions saying, hey, what if this question got more complex? What if, there are more things to worry about? And throughout the process, not only we test the technical skills, but also like communication, how we approach the problem, all this kind of thing. But the main setting is to work around those, technical. Yeah, and also, for technical interviews, there's going to be design questions. So we call it, non-abstract system design. So we're going to pretty much throw out something we encountered in our, let's say, daily routine, saying, hey, we want to design, let's say, Google Drive. Well, what's your plan, or what's your idea? It's for that kind of interviews, we don't really have like a right answer for it. Like people have to mention something, or have like a workable solution in the end to make it work. But it's more like discussing ideas, discussing trade-offs. Like what's your thinking process? How do you balance different aspects in software engineering? But that's pretty much everything we try to entail in the interviews.
Yeah. In terms of the technical interview, how did you prepare for it?
Yeah, so that's a very good one. So for many people in this area, so our strategy is normally to grind lead code very hard. Lead code has a lot of practice questions in there to get us familiar with the process. But I don't really think lead code is just enough. So first of all, I am a computer science major. So I took all those data structure algorithm classes when I was a student. So to build up the fundamentals. But also, lead code question, like we try to solve it, we may have, different ideas. Then we pass the test and we feel great when we pass the test. But the interviews entails more than that. I am an interviewer now, so I am also interviewing like other future Googlers. One thing I would, look forward to is for people to articulate their solution. Like not only I want you to write the code, but also I want you to tell me why you write it. So I kind of get this idea from other people, like people who had joined the industry before I did. So like when I was preparing, one thing I made myself to do was to not only like write the code to solve the problem, but also kind of talking to myself at the same time, saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do here. This is my explanation. Or hey, this part is a little bit too complex. Let's take it out and have like a subsystem for it. So really try to, so technical skill is very important, but also make myself understandable is very, very important for an engineer.
Yeah, no, I love the way that you explained it, especially on the way that you basically like shared your thoughts and like what you're doing and like talking to yourself and all that, because I also believe that like kind of sharing your thoughts and like why you're doing something is like super important. So definitely something that I would encourage people out there to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you do as a software engineer at Google.
Yeah. So my team is called Ads Front End SRE. So our job is to make sure, like Google has a lot of solutions for advertisement. We pretty much serve a very good portion of the business on this planet to implement their marketing or advertisement strategy. So my team is an SRE team. So SRE is like the DevOps system administrator role. So like we have developers writing the software, but we also have a group of engineers to design good solution to run the software to make sure those pieces of code are constantly serving people. So my team works with Google's ad solution teams to try to make sure like our ads platform solution, our ad services are constantly up, so the businesses could continuously deliver their marketing strategies through Google's solutions. So a lot of the work we do is to, so I would cut my daily job into about 3 portions. So the very first portion is to work with the developer team. So we have, let's say, AdSense or maybe AdMob as specific team to work with. They have, since they are serving like different needs for the businesses, so they adopt a little bit different software engineering strategies for their, product. And we need to, based on their needs, find a good strategy for them to maintain their production, saying, hey, we want to make sure, like your site is always up so people can go there and make a bidding strategy. And we would check out, how they designed it, what technologies are involved. Then we try to, make a good plan for them so they can manage their coding production in a very elegant way. And also in this process, we do something like consulting or like analytics. So like if they have some issue with production saying, hey, this thing is using too many resources, or hey, this thing is so buggy, it is constantly stopping, we will try to step in and try to help them find a good way to resolve the issue. Like one thing I did with one of the team was, like their pager, like the alert system was too noisy, and they want us to help them reduce the number of the alert they receive, so people could have a good sleep when they're on call. So that was quite interesting. The other 10 to 20% of my daily routine is to do on call. So we are SREs, we do manage and are responsible for the production. So we have to be on call. So when something happens, hopefully don't knock on the wood. We have to be the very first front line to handle them, apply mitigation, and eventually find a resolution for it. So that is also very important. But my team is really trying to balance the on-call load, so people are not overdoing. So that's a good part of it. The other 50% are just like software engineers. But instead of let's say making apps, websites, and all this kind of thing, we are more dedicated to find a solution for large distributed systems, like how to manage them. It's very much like the infrastructure engineer and also like cloud engineers. Like we try to find solution to help other software developers to have a good experiences using other technologies.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's about everything I do.
No. Thank you for the thorough explanation. So in terms of you joined the company right after you graduated from your school. So was there was there like learning curve when you first joined? And if yes, like how did you like basically overcome those?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, the learning curve still appears to me like it runs to me on a daily basis. So learning happens like on a daily basis. It's incremental. Like as software engineers, I feel everybody's always learning, and I that's one thing I really love about this position. I mean, the constant learning. It challenges me every day. I like intellectual challenges, but especially for someone like straight out of school, like I have done like projects and maybe other things, and I feel I have like a handful of what's going on in software engineering. But when I came to some place like Google, I mean, they have such large system. So things are going to be very, very different. Like they have different solution, and like the issue is going to be something like we could never see in other places. I mean, Google is serving pretty much, I would say, a large portion of the population on this planet. So something like with so many people clicking on that website, we are going to be expecting things to happen. And how can we handle them? How can we estimate them? How can we estimate the impact? It's going to be something even more interesting. So to adapt to that mentality was hard. And also a lot of the technologies Google engineers had developed was based on years of learning. So you really have to acquire that context. So I would say in the beginning, to really understanding the context was a hard process. But that brings another great thing about Google. Like this company has a very good support system. Like not only they have good documentation pretty much everywhere for you to scan over, but also my teammates is so helpful that if I really ran into some tricky issue, I can just go to the team chat saying, hey people, I got stuck, please help me. And everybody is just so willing to help. Like the TL, like other teammates, everybody would just bring some ideas and saying, hey, you can look into this, or this is something worth mentioning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like adjusting mentality was hard, and learning that, I mean, it's so complicated, but so elegant solution is also hard. But I feel the support is so accessible. So learning is tough, but it's never too, unapproachable.
Sure. That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you like the most and what do you like the least about, working as a software engineer?
That's that's a very good one. Uh, so what I love the most, like I think learning is one part of it, but
Mm,
also it's like I feel software engineering is a domain, like it's an engineering. You can constantly make changes. Let's say you make a car and you want to roll out some new feature to your customers. You have to wait for the next release cycle or something. You have to wait until the next model. So when people buy the next model, they will be able to use that feature. But for software engineering, it's like, hey, we have a brilliant idea. We can gradually roll this thing out, maybe in the next couple of weeks or months. So, like the changes we can apply could be reaching the final customers very quickly. Then we
mm,
can get the feedback, we can make improvements. So I feel like the whole cycle is a lot shorter. So there's going to be more challenges and there's going to be more learning. So that's one thing I really like about it. And that brings the daily, intellectual challenge. That is also one thing I enjoy very much. But that's also a challenge. So that's
yeah.
something I don't, I sometimes, struggle or be stressful with is
Yeah.
because, like, it's like you're constantly thinking about this thing and your brain is just so active. It's like I like when I first started my full-time job, I feel like my brain is always so excited. I had like issues going to sleep at night because
Oh,
I
okay.
have to be constantly thinking about those,
Yeah.
and also keep up with the learning. I feel like it's gonna be harder when I approach to the later stage of my career. How can I keep learning just like a 18-year-old? So that's
Yeah.
also a challenge I have to adapt to. But I do enjoy the process so far, and I am very grateful. I chose this path.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think I completely understand, especially when you first join, it's like the learning path or the learning curve is steep and then, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that there's no learning curve on the way. So I definitely understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's my last question. Advice for those who want to join Google as a software engineer.
Yeah, I gotta say, so I mean that was really something that strikes me. I mean, I am a very, very fortunate person. I love computer science. I love software engineering. That was the very first major I chose in college, and I never changed it. People say, changing majors like changing socks in college. So people, switch very frequently. But I was fortunate enough to pick the very first thing that I loved for a very long time. And it's also a very profitable, very good pay position. I mean, software engineers does make a good salary. So I feel a lot of people will be considering choosing this path because of the pay, because of
Mm,
the work-life balance and everything. But I really want to tell people is to really love what you do. I mean, I have some expectations of software engineers back in college, but when I look back today, I feel those expectations are just wrong. Like it's more than coding. As an engineer, like you have to go talk to people, try to understand people. I feel convincing people is going to be the toughest part of this job. Like, why would people adapt to your solution instead of something else? You have to be able to explain yourself instead of just doing the coding and saying, "Hey, I got it up. Just use it."
yeah.
That's not right. Coding is fun, but coding is not going to be the only thing you do. I mean, also the pay is good, but if you don't like the job, no matter how high the pay is, you're not going to be able to, you know, strive or prosper in this career path. So if you really want to join Google, or if you really want to be a software engineer in general, I feel like to really know like what software engineering is and be prepared for what's going to happen. Uh, don't just do it for the money. Do it for the fun, and the money
Mm,
will just come after you. And also, I really encourage people to learn like computer science and stuff. It's going to be one of the most accessible learning you can never get through the internet, because we made the internet, and we kind of try to put all the material on there so people could have access to it. So it's not like other engineering, let's say maybe chemical engineering, we have to
Yeah.
have a lab and everything, and you might have the risk of blowing people up and
Yeah.
stuff. Software engineering is not that damaging, and you have so many learning material just on the internet through so many means, YouTube videos, all this kind of good stuff.
Yes.
So if you want to do it, don't be afraid. Just go ahead and try. But I want you to know, before you step into this, get a good understanding of it. Like, what's your life going to be like if you become a software engineer, and make sure you love it, and just go ahead and do it. It's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
Hey, Xiao, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Those were all the questions. Thank you so much for your time and insight today. Really appreciate it.
No problem.